Welcome. It's nice to see you again. Welcome back to another latest article from Clive. God inspires them, I write them down, and now I'm sharing them with you, so you can have a new one. This one's quite cute and funny, and it's got a slight Celtic angle to it. It's called the Laird. When one explores this concept, the Laird in the Scottish nation, well, it kind of goes back a long time. And the Duchy of Cornwall was established in 1337. And it has a semblance of what was found across UK, Europe, and traces can even be found way back in tribal rulership. Spread far and wide, loosely, the Laird, or Chief Baron, Lord, is the sole ruler in the area, residing in the big house. They owned all the land, some 15 to 20,000 acres, or even much more than that. All the villages, roading, infrastructure, wild game, forestry, water rights, mineral rights, and they loosely owned all the people and everything in his realm. Well, sort of. They all worked for him in their various capacity as cooks and cleaners and blacksmiths and carpenters, labourers, stonemasons, shepherds, foresters, milking of the dairy and processing the butter and milk and cheese and cream. Then there were the craftspeople of every type, artists and potters and sculptors and musicians of all types of artisans. Well, that's just on everybody, even including his private army. They all served and worked his lands, kept the big house operating efficiently, and when harvest time came around or a dignitary or a visiting ruler came by, all stepped up to the act of duty. They cooked and cleaned and served and maintained, entertained, whatever is required, and they lived rent-free in their allotted accommodation. The modern Scottish Highland sporting estate continues to be a place owned by an absentee landlord who uses its 15 to 20,000 acres for hunting and family holiday. Lordship of the manor often has certain feudal era rights associated with them. The exact rights of each manor holds will be different: the right to hold a market, a right over certain waterways or mineral deposits are all within the scope. In medieval times, the manor was the nucleus of the English rural life. It was an administrative unit of an extensive area of land. The whole of it was owned originally by the lord of the manor. He lived in the big house called the manor house. Attached to it were many acres of grassland and woodland called the park. These were the domain of the laird, which were for their personal use, for the lord of the manor. Dotted all around were the enclosed homes and land occupied by the tenant of the manor. England in the Middle Ages, well, the land was held on behalf of the English monarch or ruler, or by a powerful local supporter who gave protection in return. The people who had sworn homage to the lord were known as vassals. Vassals were nobles who served loyalty for the king in return for being given the use of land. After the Norman conquest of England, however, all land in England was owned by the monarch, who then granted the use of it by means of a transaction known as an effeoffment to earls, barons, and others in return for military service. The person who held feudal land directly from the king was known as the tenant-in-chief. A duchy is an English term that is also reflected in the role of the laird. A duchy also is called a dukedom. In medieval country, territory, fief, or dominion ruled by the duke or duchess, a ruler hierarchically second to the king or queen in Western European tradition. The Duchy of Cornwall was created in 1337 and held successively by the Dukes of Cornwall, who were also heirs to the English throne. Nowadays, the Duchy of Cornwall belongs to the sovereign's heir apparent. Well, if there is one. If not, it reverts back to the crown. And when there's an heir apparent, it automatically goes to the heir apparent upon their birth. Any and all feudal duchies that made up the patchwork of England have since been absorbed into the royal family. The Duchy of Cornwall, established in 1337, this duchy estate extends beyond the geographical bounds of Cornwall, covering some 52,449 hectares. It's about 202 square miles of land across 23 counties, mostly in southwest England. The duchy owns 0.2% of UK land, includes farming, residential, commercial properties, as well as a vast investment portfolio. Quote, England in the Middle Ages, land was held on behalf of the English monarch or ruler by a powerful local supporter who gave protection in return. The people who had sworn homage to the Lord were known as vassals. The vassals were nobles who served loyally the king, in return being given for the use of land. Now God owns everything. Just try to live without God. That's no air, no sunshine, no food, no life. One cannot live without God. Psalm 50, 10-12. For every beast of the forest is mine, and the cattle upon 1,000 hills. I know all the fowls of the mountains, and the wild beasts of the fields are mine. If I were hungry, I would not tell you, for the world is mine, and the fullness thereof. Haggai 2:8. Silver is mine, and the gold is mine, said the Lord. There's a little old Sunday school song of long ago. He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, the wealth in every mine. He owns the rivers and the rocks and rills, the sun and stars that shine. Wonderful riches more than tongue can tell. He is my Father, so they're mine as well. He owns the cattle of 1,000 hills, so I know he cares for me. If one desires real life, life now, and advancing on forever, one needs to swear allegiance to the Laird Jesus Christ, and come under his compassionate protection, and to live harmoniously under his rulership, living and working on his land, in homes he has bountifully provided, and to feast on the bounties that he has provided. In the vineyard parable, the Laird paid the workers one day's pay, enough to buy enough food for the next day's work to be formed. Matthew 6:10-11. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Matthew 16:15-16. And he said unto them, Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He that believeth is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not shall be damned. Every human being is owned by God, whether they acknowledge his ownership and rulership or not. Quote, the whole wicked world stands arranged at the bar of God, on the charge of high treason against the government of God. They have none to plead their cause, they are without excuse, and the sentence of eternal death is pronounced upon them. It is now evident that It is now evident to all that the wages of sin is not noble independence and eternal life, but slavery, ruin, and death. From DD, page 55. John 1:1-5 says, In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him and for him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehendeth it not. Will you comprehend the Laird, to become his vassal servant, to do his bidding, to care for his property, including your body, your mind, and your spirit, keeping it pure for him, and to work for him every moment of every day? Revelation 21, 1-3. And I saw a new heavens and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them, and be their God. In this case, we have the big house being installed back here on planet Earth. The Laird Jesus Christ resides and rules from the big house, and we all swear allegiance to him, to honour, worship, and work for him. So why not start the work ethic right now as his vassal servants to serve him every moment of every day of your life? Oh, by the way, you do get to maintain his perfect and extensive park-like grounds, and they're called the Garden of Eden. Will you be there? Acts 17:28. For in him we live and move and have our being, as certain also of your own prophets have said, for we are his offspring. Luke 10:27. And he answered and said, Thou shalt love the Laird thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy strength, and with all thy mind, and thy neighbour as thyself. Will you not right now swear allegiance to the Laird Jesus Christ? Thank you very much for being with us. Remember to walk softly, to deal kindly, to trust God. And you can please press the like, the subscribe and the bell icon. And until then, please stay safe. We'll see you next time.